Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley-Broom. We have a full quorum present with council members McKenzie, Karn, Arnold, and Gay. And so at this time, subject to my continuing objections to Ordinance 2024-01 and the omnibus package that this body passed the first week of January in 2024, I will call the meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Den is doing our invocation this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
And citizens of College Park. Let us bow our heads in prayer. Eternal God, our Creator, as we move deeper into the year, we pause to catch your breath and seek your face. The demands on our leaders are great, the pressure intense, and the misunderstandings many. But you remind us not to grow weary, for in due season we shall reap if we do not give up. Lord, we pray for our mayor and council members. Your servants are navigating judgment and division. Surround them with wise counsel. Let them not be swayed by whispers or weighed down by weariness. Teach them to endure, to speak with candor, and to serve with humility. We pray for essential workers, public servants and protectors in blue and red, our police officers and firefighters. May they be respected and honored for their faithful work. Bless the staff working behind the scenes, those who keep records, manage systems and departments. Though unseen, you see them. Comfort our grieving families in their time of loss. Now, Lord, let this community come together, not fall apart, mend relationships, and let us know that this leadership is not just a symbolic but transformational leadership. Now may the power of the Holy Spirit rest, rule, and abide in this place. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I bring forth the civility pledge, which reads, "The way we govern ourselves is often as important as the positions we take. Our collective decisions will be better when different views have had the opportunity to be fully vetted and considered. All people have the right to be treated with respect, courtesy, and openness. We value all input. We commit to conduct ourselves at all times with civility and courtesy to each other." I ask everyone who elects to speak this evening during public comments, please remember the civility pledge.
Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and citizens and visitors. I'd like to share a brief safety message. In the event of a fire or emergency, please remain calm, gather your belongings, and proceed to the nearest exit. Exits are clearly marked throughout the building. Please assist others as necessary. Our designated assembly areas are located in the parking lots on the west and the front lawn of the east side. Once outside, please remain at the assembly point until further instructions are given by fire or City of College Park employees. Our safety is your main priority. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Chief.
Item 2, additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda.
Are there any? All right.
Madam Mayor?
Madam Clerk?
Pardon. I would like to mention that item 8A, the public hearing, it was not included on the title of the agenda. There is a resolution attached if council does approve this item. So I request that if it approved, that it is referenced that a resolution is approved as well.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that would not take an amendment to the agenda, though? Or does the resolution need to be added to the agenda?
The resolution is in the agenda packet. It was just not mentioned on the agenda. title.
So does that make, do we need an amendment?
It's just a public hearing, so I don't know if it needs an amendment to the agenda to add the resolution, but you would be approving a resolution if that were the will of the council.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear.
I do not believe that we need an actual amendment to the agenda,
Okay.
But you would be approving a resolution if the council were in favor of the measure.
Understood. Okay, thank you, Mr. Denmark. I'd like to move item 9C to the regular agenda. Any other amendments? Hearing none, is there a motion? No amendments then. All right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous.
Agenda item 4A, consideration of an action on a request for approval of mayoral appointment of Keep College Park Beautiful representative. This item is sponsored by Mayor Bianca Motley Brew.
All right, and that person is Camilla Kennedy. Is there a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Any discussion? Here, Councilmember Carn.
City Attorney, I know the different groups have different sets of bylaws in terms of how they operate, in particularly in regards to removal. I just want to make sure we're doing this the proper way here.
We're on the first one, okay?
Is this,
We're on Keep College Park. Yeah.
oh, this is Keep College Park Beautiful. Okay, so I think the other one had a different way of, yeah, okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous.
Item 4B, consideration of an action on a request to remove mayoral appointee of College Park Main Street Association. This item is sponsored by Mayor Bianca Motley Broom.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion?
Yes, I have discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I do not see where, Attorney Denmark, can you help me with this? I do not, I've gone through the charter for the, first of all, I'd like to know why the member was being removed, but also I do not see where the council has the authority in this situation to be able to remove a member from the College Park Main Street Association representative according to the bylaws that they are enacting at this time in charter.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Denmark?
Mayor Pro Tem, the bylaws of the Main Street Association Board are completely silent on the ability of the city council to remove a member under any circumstance. It certainly provides for council appointment, but it does not provide for council removal. Under the Georgia Nonprofit Code codified in Title 19 of the code, specifically OCGA 14-3-808, it provides that the members themselves can remove one of their own by an appropriate vote. And so I also see no legal basis that would allow the city council to remove a member of the Main Street Board, either in the bylaws or in state law.
Mr. Denmark, question for you. Considering the bylaws as to the College Park Main Street Association are silent on this matter, and the council is actually the body that appoints to this board. I think all of us were recipients of some information regarding an incident that occurred last week, and I think it is it was troubling. And so that was the basis of the direction that I wanted to go in on this, but I'm a little unclear as to, since our ordinances don't say anything about it, why the council would not be able to remove. This is a little bit different than BIDA. So,
Well, Madam Mayor, there's an adage that the power to appoint carries with it the power to remove.
right,
But that's certainly merely guidance. In this case, the bylaws talk, for the Main Street Board, talk about removal if you miss a certain number of meetings. And it allows the members themselves to remove a member if they miss 3 consecutive meetings or 5 in a year, or I believe that's the number. But it doesn't provide at all for the city council, the mayor and council, to remove a member. And under, everybody knows a 501c3 organization, it's a 2-tier process. One, you get establish yourself as a Georgia nonprofit corporation, and then that Georgia nonprofit corporation establishes 501c3 status through the IRS. So the Main Street Board is a 501c3, but it's also a Georgia nonprofit corporation. And under the Nonprofit Corporation Code, members can remove board members by an appropriate vote. I think there's a possibility of that, and we've seen members who've been removed from various city boards take legal action challenging the authority of the city council to remove them. And so that's the caution that I advise. This council can certainly take action along the lines proposed and based on the motion in the second. But to the Mayor Pro Tem's point, merely answering that question, there is no basis under the bylaw specifically for this council to remove a member, other than the old adage that the power to appoint carries with it the power to remove.
thank you, sir.
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, on March 12th, the College Park Main Street Association had a meeting, and they met with the attorneys, our city attorney, and they adopted, or actually they have made some changes to their bylaws. So the bylaws that were quoted just now are not the bylaws that have been, I don't know, I don't have the record of whether it's been, what the final situation is, but my concern is that we really need to stay in our lanes. Now, I do have a problem. I do understand some of the issues behind this removal. However, since the member themselves has not agreed to resign, we have to be very, very careful that we do not take an action as a governing body that could bring litigation unnecessarily on our city. Now, what the College Park Main Street Association did do, and these are the most recent amendments to their charter, is they put in the charter under membership resignation and removal 4.3, which says all members must maintain respect and decorum during meetings. Any disrespectful or disruptive behavior may result in expulsion from that meeting. If such behavior persists, the member may be removed by 2/3 vote of the Board of Directors. Additionally, all members are prohibited from disparaging the organization or its members. So they do have something in place. Yeah, I sent it to you earlier, but I guess you got the other one that Brian sent. So the most recent bylaws and the updated required that the board itself handle this situation. And I think the danger is when we fail to do our research and stay in our lane, we bring unnecessary litigation and, just a bad look on our city. So my recommendation in this is to send this back, and I did reach out to Ginger Melton this morning. We had this conversation because she couldn't be here because she's ill. And make the recommendation that their board would call some type of a special meeting, perhaps, to handle this situation in-house. And that is my recommendation, that we do not at this time move in a pathway that could put us, could have very serious legal implications.
So given the nature of this situation, I think I certainly understand the concerns on all sides. And if it is the purview of the Main Street Board, that is fine. I think hopefully the issue will be addressed sooner rather than later, because I understand that there were concerns about personal safety. And so that is why I tried to move as swiftly as possible, because I think that could get us into a bigger situation. So,
When you finish.
Councilmember Arnold?
I have a question. Are we adopting the ethics board this evening?
I don't think it's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda?
No, ma'am,
No,
it's
it is
not
not.
on the agenda.
So maybe this is a good case to refer it to the ethics board once we adopt that board.
Perhaps, yes.
Yeah.
Councilmember Carr?
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Carl.
Well, just have a question. How often does this board meet? Is this once monthly like the rest of the boards? I'm assuming it is.
Yes, I attend the meetings, Councilman Carn. They meet once a month.
So if there is updated language to the bylaws, so someone got that from Ginger, the updated, that came from?
Ginger sent me the bylaws this morning when I requested a copy of the bylaws, because in attending the meetings, I was aware that the board, again, I do attend the meetings, I was aware that the board had put in their own system in place to remove a member. And so basically, like I said, I do hear what the mayor is saying, and I agree that this does need to be handled, and the recommendation would be for the Main Street Board to hold a special called meeting as soon as they legally possibly can do that, and for them to handle this situation.
I understand the incident, and I understand why, we need to, something needs to be done. Winston, I guess if the updated bylaws that Ms. Melton sent, if they're accurate, does that mean that the Main Street Board has the power to remove if those bylaws are correct?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Denmark?
Councilman, that would be correct. And I did not get a copy. I did get a copy. Mayor Pro Tem sent it to me, but my staff had already been looking at this since last week, and we were operating under the bylaws, but when I got the bylaws this morning, I thought they were the same ones we already had. But in any event, if that is indeed the language, then it even strengthens my opinion that this council ought not act. And the Main Street Board would be relying both on the Georgia Nonprofit Code as well as their own bylaws for their affirmative authority to discipline their own members.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Carn?
I don't want to overstep an appointed board's authority, number one. I mean, it sounds like to me it's probably cleaner that the Main Street Board maybe makes a decision regarding their board member first, and see how that goes, maybe.
That's fine by me.
Okay, well, we agree on that, Mayor. All right.
All right, so there is a motion and a second, and so now I will, unless the motion is withdrawn.
I withdraw my motion.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Arnold. So item 4C is moot.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the workshop minutes from August 4th?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Kenzie. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. About the regular session minutes from August 4th, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous as well.
Item 6A, consideration of an action on a request to issue a proclamation honoring Ms. Velma Rainey. This item is sponsored by Councilwoman Tracy Arnold.
Councilmember Arnold, do you have an opposition to handling both of these together?
No, I don't.
Anyone in the body? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you read 6B as well?
6B, consideration of an action on a request to issue a proclamation honoring Charles E. Nesbitt Jr. This item is sponsored by Councilwoman Tracy Arnold.
Is there a motion to approve items 6A and 6B?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Item 7 is remarks of citizens. First public comment, Odo Richardson.
All right.
Charles Ridley.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
My name is Charles Ridley. As she spoke, I'd like to read a letter to the council, please. I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to express my heartfelt gratitude and recognition for the numerous volunteers and retired staff, to include myself. We have dedicated our time and energy as coaches in the College Park Recreation Basketball Department over the years. Coaches not only committed to fostering athletic skills, but also played a crucial role in shaping the lives of our young men and youth. Their unwavering dedication, mentorship, and passion for the game have instilled value of teamwork, discipline, and perseverance in our young athletes. We have 4 coaches with 30-plus years and multiple coaches with 20 years, demonstrating exceptional loyalty and a profound impact on both the players and the community. I believe it is important to publicly acknowledge the contribution of retired staff members, dedicated long-term volunteers, and those that have passed away. Their effort has created a positive environment for our young youth to thrive both on and off the court. The skills and life lessons they impart would undoubtedly resonate with the players for years to come. I kindly ask and humbly ask the council to consider supporting me in recognizing outstanding volunteers and retired staff members in a formal event. I believe it's vital to celebrate their service and commitment. Thank you for considering this acknowledgement of our individual coaches and retired staff members. Together, we can show our appreciation for those who have dedicated themselves to making a difference in our community. Sincerely, Charles Ridley.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Elizabeth Lester.
Evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight to speak briefly about item C on the consent agenda, and more generally about the fact that various council members continue to hire contractors to serve various functions that would typically be carried out by city employees, or that the city manager or the city itself would hire contractors to do. In particular, there's a couple of items of note. It states that the contract amount is for $36,000. That's not true. There is a signing bonus in addition to this, as well as a retention bonus for successful completion of the projects. And I think that it's important that that full $50,000 be accounted for rather than the $36,000. The other thing is, I think it's confusing as to who this individual reports to and what the authority actually is. Does the individual report to the mayor pro tem? Does the individual report? So the problem is that council members do not have employees. Remember, that's an issue. And so what happens then if the city manager is in dispute with the way that one of your contractors is hiring something? And with all due respect, I don't think it's appropriate that you're laughing at me.
I'm smiling. I'm smiling.
I beg to differ.
I am.
But the reality is you continue to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on various projects, and you're not giving the city manager and the city employees the authority to actually go and implement these projects that you're requesting and demanding hundreds and thousands of dollars being spent on every year. You all are here to do policy. You're not here to micromanage the city. You need to get your priorities straight.
Thank you, ma'am.
Paulette Payne.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and distinguished council members.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to say a few words about Lance Terry, who is the Assistant Director for the Recreation and Cultural Arts Department. With nearly 3 decades of dedicated service, Lance Terry has proven himself to be an integral part of the College Park Recreation and Cultural Arts Department. He knows every facet of our operations, and unbeknownst to most, spends countless hours beyond the workday ensuring our facilities and programs run seamlessly. His sharp analytical skills, combined with a deep love for this community, a community that raised his own family through our sports programs, make him uniquely qualified to carry forward our mission. Lance has been a steady leader who has earned the respect of our partners, staff, and patrons. He is often the first line of defense when challenges arise, demonstrating strong leadership grounded in high ethical and moral standards. In the years that I have known Lance and worked with him, I have been inspired by his ability to quickly deconstruct and analyze complex situations and effortlessly come up with solutions that meet each situation with accuracy and ease. Lance is a respected leader who builds on success from sports programming to cultural arts to administrative affairs. Lance upholds the vision of City Council, oftentimes their first line of contact, while inspiring confidence and loyalty among staff, who he will hold accountable to ensure the work of the department continues to move forward uninterrupted, while also allowing them to thrive in their area of skill and expertise. While change is the only constant, in leadership, it can oftentimes disrupt morale and progress. However, under Lance's steady guidance, our department will remain strong and deeply connected to the people we serve. With Lance leading, our department will remain a family, steady and united, while also thriving in new ways. He will not only preserve the heart of who we are, but he will also set the standard for the future of College Park and the Recreation and Cultural Arts Department, as together we breathe life into the community 365 days each year. Thank you for your thoughtful time and consideration.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tia Jones.
Greetings, Madam Mayor and esteemed council.
Good evening.
I won't take much of your time. I know you have such a busy schedule, but I mirror the comments that my family member, Paulette, said. I have worked with Lance Terry for 23 years. When I came into recreation, he was the assistant athletic director, moving to athletic director, moving to assistant director of recreation, moving to interim director of recreation. And when he returned, he was in the position of assistant director of recreation. There is no one more qualified to assume the position of recreation director than Lance Terry. He makes sure that everything flows. He is there early in the morning before his scheduled time, and often there at the recreation center late evenings, even when he's not scheduled to be there. He makes sure that the recreation center runs. And we just hope that you would consider him for Director of Recreation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Newell.
How you doing, Mayor?
Good evening.
Councilman Gay, Councilman Arnold, Councilman Carn, Councilman Casey. Thank y'all for allowing me to speak. I'm here to speak on the behalf of Lance, Terry, and myself. I've been working with him for 20-some years as well. One thing I know that about him is that his vision is for the best of all. He really takes in consideration the thought process of the council, how the council like to run things, and he really takes pride in being here super early, making sure that every program has what it needs, and making sure that all the employees have what they need to run the programs. There's not going to be no one more dedicated to take the position of being a director here. Please don't overlook him. He's earned the right to be a director. He's dedicated his life, pretty much half his life here, and he's developed so many kids. He's reached out to so many homeless that don't have a job. I've seen him give jobs to help out cats on the street. And I don't want to say too much more other than Councilman Gay, Councilman Arnold, Mayor, Councilman Carr, Councilman Kennedy. Just give Lance the opportunity. Don't overlook him. He's been stepped over before, but he's always stayed strong, stayed dedicated to the city, to the employees, to the community. Please consider Lance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Mayor, that is all I have for in-person public comment.
Okay. If anyone else in the audience wishes to speak at this time, they can approach.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council. Jason Killip from Mercer Avenue.
Good evening.
I don't have my full 3 minutes, so it'll be really quick, but what I just watched during public comment was pretty disgusting, especially coming from my councilwoman, as she sat and laughed at one of her constituents for raising valid questions about how taxpayer funds are being spent. This comes after a workshop when someone asked how an organization that received $50,000 in May had spent some of their funds. Not on full-on forensic accounting, just how did they spend their funds? You all are playing with over $200 million a year. We deserve to know how you're spending it. And now you're sitting there smirking at me because it's going to go and get rubber stamped in its consent agenda. It's going to cause a problem, and I hope it doesn't result in more legal fees from your poor decisions that you rushed into. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Mayor and Council, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I came in, I received something, I just want to read it for the record. I think this is important, so I would love to read it. It is dated July the 15th, 2025. Dear Mayor Motley Broom, Mayor Pro Tem McKenzie, Council Members Arnold, Carn, and Gay. Your staff wants to know why we are all required to perform our duties for the City of College Park based on our experience and certifications, and you hire a city manager with no clue about running the operations of the city. It's a joke in College Park. She is not qualified to manage the fire department or police department or parks and recreation or the arena or the convention center or manage a multi-million-dollar budget. She has no knowledge of running government operations. None, with an exclamation point. People are asking, how did she get that job? And inquiring minds wants to know. What were you thinking? She asks us everything because she knows nothing. And that is not fair to us to have to do her job. Everyday things that the city manager should know, she doesn't. She is being paid a whole lot more than all of us. Where's the substance? What are the plans for the operations of College Park? She has none. We look at each other in meetings. We look at each other in meetings and just shake our heads. She is skating and just wants to skin and grin and take pictures. She is on a celebrity tour while we are all working. She's been here for how long, and now a meet and greet so she can tell us again that she cares and what her parents did. And we all know that Dr. Adediran went in the field on Friday, and she's acting like that was her idea. Come on, you are all smarter than that. Scheduling our photographer to take photos is the main focus every day. We could all sit back and do nothing every day, and she wouldn't know anything different. Taglines and smiles don't get the job done. A city with a convention center, recreation centers, police, fire, utilities, public work, finance, airport, and etc. And you hire a person who is all about cameras and news articles. Yet we, the worker bees, are required to bring experience and knowledge to do our jobs. And we are making a whole lot less. Well, we just want to let you know that we are watching the Dog and Pony Show, and you need to wake up and pay attention. Do you need a camera crew following you around to watch public works make repairs, or while you hug a dog? Cut it out. We have a city to run, respectfully, and this is the most important part. Several members of your dedicated staff. This is not my letter. So I just want to read that into the record. I think it's very important that we know how the staff that runs and do the work feel. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir?
Mr. Ridley, you've already had your 3 minutes, sorry. If there's anyone else who has not spoken who wishes to speak at this time.
Hello, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Hello. My name is Lucretia Williams, and I'm announcing myself tonight as the candidate for Ward 2 of City Council. I'm also a neighbor and a Hawthorne Station homeowner. Something that the previous comment was brought up, and it's speaking to the city employees, and I sensed a sense of fear that they do not have the privilege to speak out on things that may be going on in government and the way they are treated and the way they are assigned duties. I did a 9-year look back audit of all of the audits that were completed recently. And there were a lot of consistencies of all the audits. A lot of areas where there were several misappropriations, the derelict of duties, there's no balance, no checks and balances. And this has gone on for 9 years. Several city managers have changed hands. Several council members have changed hands. But what I do notice is that the employees do feel that they don't have a voice. One of the things that we look at in audits is there should always be a whistleblower hotline. This should help the employees to be able to have a voice and speak and let there be just cause for an investigation in the event the documents are either missing, misappropriated, misstated, overstated invoices, understated invoices. I've seen a lot of inconsistencies in those areas. If Deloitte was to come out, or Ernst & Young was to come out, there would be a totally higher level of eyes set on looking at our books. And I'm just noticing that there is no level of rectification or of trying to make corrections in what the audits are findings. I don't see where there's any programs where you guys are trying to make corrections in the processes, and that needs to change with us. I think that's going to help really bring what transparency really supposed to look like. You know, we don't want to keep throwing out a name and some people don't even really know what it means, or we don't actually practice that. We have a subdivision that is full of professionals like you all, and we're experts in what we do. So we see that's going on. Thank you so much.
Anyone else from the audience wish to speak? Madam Clerk? Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
You didn't overlook, I moved slow. Yes, greetings to Mayor and Council. I come in the name of peace. When I come in the name of peace, I come as Dr. Bomalini. So what's in a name, some people may ask. Just imagine if College Park could be named the greatest global model city enhancement in the South. What's in their name? The greatest model city enhancement. College Park being that model city. Well, United Action for the Advancement of Humanity has launched the Model City Initiative, a city where people can come together and not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. A city where former slaves and former slave owners can come together in peace, love, and most importantly, in forgiveness. College Park is well situated to become a model city, one of the greatest vibrant model city in the history of this country. College Park has a civility pledge. Each meeting, Chief Rod to get up and read the civility pledge. This is really the root of becoming a model city, the civility pledge, taking it serious. A big step toward becoming the model city is truly living out the civility pledge, accepting the model city initiative from United Action for Advancement of Humanity, and finally accepting the challenge of becoming a more compassionate city. The challenge tonight is to ask the City of College Park, led by this Mayor and Council, to become a more compassionate city, simply by issuing a letter of apology to Dr. Sabrina Willis, by issuing this public apology to Dr. Sabrina Willis for taking action against her that should not have been taken. Surely this can demonstrate to this city how this body can become and be one of the most compassionate bodies and become the model city for this region. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? I'm double checking this time, make sure before I look down. Go ahead.
First emailed public comment is from Alexis McMillan. Lance Terry has been serving this community for 25 plus years in the Recreation Department. That alone speaks volumes about his dedication to the city of College Park. Signed, Bo McMillan. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Michael Lindsay. My address is 2240 Rugby Terrace. I've noticed several things that seem to be hurting our city. It seems that things are swept under the rug or the can was kicked down the road and it has or will come back to hurt the city. I have a couple questions and need some clarity. We have had several lawsuits against the city that don't get mentioned after a while. Why don't we ever know the outcome of these lawsuits? For example, Mayor Motley Broom's 2 lawsuits against the city. What is the status of those? How much are they costing the city and who won those lawsuits? Or are they still pending? As taxpayers, we should have these answers. Where is the $2.4 million for the DMO going? Why is it that we pay the most of the money to the DMO, but Hateville gets the better advertisement? Why have I personally talked to land developers around the metro area and none of them have even heard about 6 West? Why are we still giving $2.4 million to an organization that isn't doing the work for the money? How much money does it take to advertise the city with the second largest convention center in the state with an attached arena, excellent MARTA access, and second largest number of hotels outside the city of Atlanta? I just summed up what we are supposed to be doing in a couple seconds. What are they spending the money on? Why don't we have a breakdown of dollars spent by the DMO? I have a minor in marketing and I can do the advertisement for $100,000 and save us millions. Or is this money laundering scheme? Please let us know. Is this why East Point pulled out of the DMO? How many unqualified people do we have in important positions here in this city? We have several positions open and we have unqualified interim city manager who fires people her first day in the office, opening up to the city to class action lawsuits. Where is the outrage from the usual people who always come to the meetings and complain about the city's spending and what's in the budget? How does an unqualified interim city manager make a decision to fire 3 qualified people on our first day on the job? Why do we have a media team following the interim city manager around? We have never had this many pictures of videos of any city manager. She just got the job. She hasn't done anything newsworthy yet. Showing up while your coworkers are doing their job and taking pictures is not what we are paying an interim city manager for. I have 2 more questions to the mayor and council. 1, why do we fire an overqualified city manager just to hire an unqualified interim city manager with no experience or knowledge of running a city? 2, why is the search for a qualified city manager? When is the search for the qualified city manager going to start? We don't have the luxury of on-the-job training in the current state of the city. Thank you for your service, Michael Lindsay. Next public comment from Ronald Kilpatrick. Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, citizens, and employees. The purpose of this letter is to recommend Lance Terry for the position of Recreation and Cultural Arts Director for the City of College Park. I'm not able to make it in person today to stand with the rest of the recreation staff because of programming. I'm working over Wyatt Center right now, but I just want to say Lance has worked in the City of College Park Recreation Department for approximately 30 years. I myself have been working for College Park for 4 years now, but coaching, participating, and having my children participate in various College Park recreation programs for over 10 years. During that time, Lance has demonstrated dedication, expertise, and a deep understanding of every aspect of daily operations. Lance's knowledge is invaluable, acquired through decades of experience. He possesses vast knowledge of facility management, program development across various sports, and the intricate workings of the swimming pools and splash pad. Lance has consistently demonstrated a proactive approach to maintaining our facilities and programs, ensuring high quality and safety standards. Furthermore, Lance has been a great mentor. He has shared his knowledge and guidance on various aspects of recreation management with my coworkers and myself. His ability to train and inspire others, along with his understanding of the community's needs and department intricacies, are invaluable for this leadership role. He understands the community's needs and how to leverage College Park recreation and cultural arts programs and activities for the benefit of College Park residents. Lance Terry's experience, leadership skills, and commitment to the City of College Park Recreation and Cultural Arts Department will make him an exceptional Recreation and Cultural Arts Director. He would bring historical understanding, operational expertise, and dedication to the department's continued success. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Ronald Kilpatrick, Assistant Recreation Leader, College Park Recreation and Cultural Arts Department. Next public comment is from Dietrich Young. Hello, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and all important decision makers. I have been an employee for the City of College Park Recreation Department for over 15 years and have had the pleasure to work with nothing but great directors over my entire years with the city, starting with Eric Stipe, Keith James, Emmanuel Rainey, and Michelle Johnson. Now I think it is time for Lance Terry to step up into that leadership role and run our department for the foreseen future. Lance Terry has experience in all areas when it comes to facilitating this recreation department. He is homegrown and has been in this department for about 30 years. I hope Lance gets the support he needs in order to be our next Recreation and Cultural Arts Director. Thanks. Dear Mayor, Council members, and City Manager, I'd like to take this opportunity to strongly endorse Lance Terry for the position of Director of Recreation and Cultural Arts Department. Mr. Terry has dedicated 29 years of service to the City of College Park, and throughout that time has consistently demonstrated professionalism, leadership, and a deep understanding of both the operational and community needs of our department. Apologies. His history with the city gives him unique insight into how our programs have grown and evolved with extensive knowledge and experience will be valuable in ensuring a smooth transition of leadership. Beyond his tenure, Mr. Terry has shown the ability to successfully manage staff, foster positive community relationships, adapt to the changing needs of residents. His longstanding commitment to the city reflects both loyalty and stability, qualities that help our department continue to thrive. From Tanya LaPlanche. Next public comment, Layla Constable. Dear Mayor and Council, I would like to share my support for Lance Terry in consideration for the position. We have reached the 15-minute time limit for that topic of Lance Terry, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I will review the last public comment to see if what it relates to. It is a different topic, DMO related. I'll go ahead and proceed.
Okay.
Next public comment from Mose James. Earlier tonight, we heard a presentation from Karen Jeremy, our pseudo DMO operating as Destination College Park. Earlier this year, she received an $80,000 contract from the city to establish and operate a visitor center as part of the World Cup Readiness Initiative. In her update, she talked about visiting 17 visitor centers worldwide, but named none of them. She suggested a gift shop that would maintain the property, but gave no figures on how much revenue it might generate or how the property would be sustained, and said everything was left to the imagination. And when asked about how the money is being spent, she became combative and claimed she doesn't need to provide financial accountability. This is particularly hypocritical because she was once a leading voice criticizing the Atlanta Airport District for not being transparent with their spending. Now she's refusing to do exactly what she demanded from others. And let's not ignore that this $80,000 comes from the community enhancement funds. These funds often duplicate city services and are handed out with little oversight, looking more like political favors than genuine community investments. College Park deserves better than vague promises and unaccountable spending. Let's pause, think, and figure out how to truly benefit our city instead of spending recklessly. Thank you, Moses James. And that is all, Madam Mayor, I have for emailed public comments.
Thank you. All right, I think we have a public hearing.
8A, public hearing and action on a request for conditional height permit at 3700 Naturally Fresh Boulevard. This item is requested by Lenny Lyons, City Planner.
Good evening. As the city clerk spoke, this is for a conditional height permit to increase the height, the maximum height of a structure from 35 feet to 42 and a half feet on Naturally Fresh Boulevard. The current zoning is M1 light industrial, and surrounding, chiefly around this area of Naturally Fresh Boulevard and Bluffington Road are warehouses and other industrial type uses. Currently, this parcel is undeveloped. They have had previous zoning actions. In January of 2024, they went before the Board of Zoning Appeals to encroach into the natural stream buffer that is typically left to be undisturbed, so that to reduce that stream buffer, and to request relief from constructing a 10-foot sidewalk and to exceed the standard with which truck and tractor parking is limited in the front and side yards. The final plat application also went before the Planning Commission in February of 2025 so that the lots could be consolidated. And those have since been recorded with Fulton County. So now they're proposing to construct a 221,000 square foot warehouse. The parcel is approximately 68 acres. This application went before the Planning Commission in July 28th, where staff and the Planning Commission recommended approval to increase the height. The applicant is here this evening to speak on behalf of their application, and they have some handouts.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. If the applicant could approach.
Good evening,
Good
Madam Mayor
evening.
and Council. My name is Tony Bartlett. I'm with Lincoln Property Company. We're the developer for Airport West 600. I believe this package may have been delivered to you. I do have copies if anybody would like to have one. Yeah,
You could give them to the clerk.
There's 4 in that package. I've got 1 extra I'll leave behind. I'm going to use it for reference though. And I'll leave 1 behind at the end. So if you turn to the first page, you'll see there's a site plan that shows the positioning of the building itself. This is Airport West 600 on Naturally Fresh Boulevard. We have been the developer for buildings 100 through 500 that are existing today. This is almost a carbon copy of the building that is Airport West 500 directly across the street. So really no changes. That'll be an example of what's there. You see, for reference purposes, this request is really not an unusual request from an industrial standpoint. Today, all modern distribution buildings are built to what's called a 32-foot clear height. Clear height is the measurement from the floor to the underside of the joist. And today, that's moved from 26 to 28 to 32, and 36 and 40 now is higher. The reason for these heights is new distribution buildings are racking their materials higher and higher, and the buildings have gone up. Many municipalities have changed their codes to accommodate these modern distribution buildings, and I'll show you at the back, but there's plenty of references inside the city of College Park where that exists today. If you turn to this page just gives a better diagram to give you a sense of the heights itself. You see the highest corner is 42 feet at the corner where the office space is, and you see the dimensions as the building goes back. The next page over, which shows the site plan, shows how far the building sits off the road itself. From Naturally Fresh Boulevard, it's almost 1,400 feet off of the road itself, and the building sits 17 feet below the road itself. So the topography slopes down very hard, past the lake itself. This building, in terms of height from the road, will really, you might not even see the top of it for the most part. It also shows in proximity to the surrounding neighborhood a lot of green space there, almost a football field or more in all directions in terms of buffers to it. So largely invisible. It's a very tree-lined area itself. As a developer, I'd love for it to have more visibility than it does, but nonetheless, a very typical distribution building. And then on the last page, we just included for reference a quick look in CoStar, an online portal that shows, I think there's 9 buildings within the city of College Park that today are 32-foot clear. Again, that would translate to a height above 35 feet once you include the joists and the roof and the slope of a roof. So again, not an unusual request, and we've developed a couple other buildings in that park and have not gone through this process before. Otherwise, we would have done that at the time when the amendments were earlier requested. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. If anyone wishes to speak on this request for a conditional height permit, they can do so at this time. All right, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Any discussion?
I had a few questions.
Councilmember Carn, go right ahead.
All right, appreciate you coming.
Yes, sir.
This was the group, I remember you all had some variances on the driveway and stuff, I think last year and a half ago, somewhere around in there. Is this the same outfit?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
I think you all had some variances on the driveway and the egress.
Yes, sir.
About a year and a half ago, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you haven't commenced construction on this thing?
No, sir.
Obviously. Looks like you got 40 truck bays you're talking about here? See 40 dock high doors. Is that going to be actual bays or is it fewer bays here? It's got to be fewer bays.
And you're asking about the bay sizes themselves?
Well, how many bays you have?
Well, it's like we have about 18 bays, approximately.
One of the issues we've had, we had a moratorium on warehousing and distribution here for a while that had expired. One of the reasons we held the moratorium is because we were looking at instituting impact fees, especially in and about this area. Of course, before we instituted impact fees, that required an impact fee study. Our previous inspections chief was in the process of getting together and getting ready for an impact fee study, which is required before we institute fees. As city manager, I definitely obviously want to still move forward with the impact fee study so we can institute some impact fees along these lines. And this is for these type of service industries that have, significant amount of vehicles traveling up and down our roads. It goes without saying, a lot of cities have them. So we will probably be implementing that in the future. So you want to be aware of that. This lake, you all don't have any ownership in the lake here or the pond here, I guess.
Well, yes, sir.
You do?
Yes, it's part of the purchase of the land that we made. Yes.
All right. I was curious about that. I wanted to, I guess, maybe talk offline about that in terms of plans in and around that. So how much truck activity per day do you predict? I mean, what's your?
Well, this is a spec building, so we do not have a tenant currently today. All our other 5 buildings have been leased. They've been leased to either Chick-fil-A or Pitney Bowes, a division of Pitney Bowes. So this is generally a lighter distribution type of use.
Well, generally, what I've seen lately, no one's building these unless they have, 50% plus occupancy already, already intended and reserved, in terms of before you can build this thing. So I'm assuming you're going to fill this thing up here, or if you don't have it already halfway in terms of, clientele that are looking for this space here.
It is a challenging market to develop in for sure. And with many projects, 50% lease would be a requirement. This is a project where our partner is Morgan Stanley. We don't have debt on the property itself, so it's in very good, stable hands. And this is a market, as I said, where we've built these 6 buildings as well as 2 others in the surrounding area, have really good working knowledge of that, and feel confident that we'll have this leased, before completion of the building.
Well, we do worry about truck traffic. Obviously, these warehouses bring in more traffic. This area is zoned for industrial and warehouse purposes, and it does not affect the residential areas too much. Ms. Lyons, any comments, any thoughts?
No. This request is something you'll probably see more of as far as the height, because of we have a maximum of 35 feet in many of our districts. So with that, I know the applicant mentioned that there are other buildings in the area that may exceed that height that might not have come before you before. I can't speak to that other than it should have. And so this is, us looking at the zoning ordinance and the different types of applications that will come before you. I can just imagine you'll see more of these to consider. I've been taking them to Planning Commission as well, in the event that they do have a zoning action also requested outside of the height. But for where it is and what it is, it's this pretty much the same as what's there. And as the applicant said, they've done many of the buildings that are already on that part of Naturally Fresh Boulevard. There's a lot of activity occurring along there related to warehousing and distribution.
And this approval would be the final hurdle for this outfit, or they could actually?
It would be for zoning. For zoning, yes, they are moving, they are working with our city engineer to get cleared for land disturbance, and our next step is to move into pre-construction, and that would be meeting with the building official, myself, the engineer, fire, water, sewer, and power, whomever the utilities he might need to, and kind of lay out the process moving forward to get them in process, hopefully the most efficient line to building permitting.
Well, once you those are steps you're going to have to go through. In between that, I think it'd be a good idea maybe to sit down with our city manager. I'd like to meet with you as well. Some of the things we talk about is local hiring, the number of jobs potentially, perhaps a job fair locally for residents that may be interested in some of the work, community benefits. I had a warehouse on Sullivan Road a few years back that wanted to build, and at the end of the day, we wanted to make sure that the community benefited some kind of a way significantly. We did get a commitment for a goal of hiring, and there were several people locally hired at that particular warehouse. Also, we received about 1,500 linear feet of sidewalk along that corridor that was greatly needed, and that was part of their community benefits. So we always want to see the community benefit from something coming into our neighborhoods as much as we possibly can. So, city manager, I think that's a conversation maybe we sit down with and see, your builder, you guys got a pretty decent reputation here building first class quality stuff over there. And it looks like this is going to be more of the same, but we want to make sure that we're cognizant of our residents. And so I'd like to have that conversation as soon as possible.
I think we have an opportunity with this particular situation and others that might come before us to really look at this particular issue, the issue that we're here to talk about, which is the height variance or the conditional height permit, because we have set 35 feet as the maximum height throughout the city, when that makes a lot of sense when we are very close to the airport. But the property that we are discussing is several miles away, and so we probably need to take another look to see if 35 feet across the entire city makes sense. So I hope that we can have that conversation so we don't have to keep on doing this piecemeal, because in certain areas of the city, higher than 35 feet is not an issue and it's not a problem at all. But Ms. Lyons, I would love for you to engage us in that conversation, perhaps at a workshop in the near future.
Okay, we'll do.
And Mayor,
I'm sorry, whomever has their phone, if you could step out or turn it to silent. Thank you. Councilmember Carn?
Mayor, I agree 100% with you on the height issue. I know I'd spoken to Ms. Lyons about that. We've been 35 feet for decades, and that's pretty ridiculously low for an international city. Obviously, we have the airport issues, but Ms. Lyons, I remember you mentioned a few items that we needed to probably update maybe at one point in time here, including the overall city height, and our height variances near the runway approach zones are governed by the FAA height limits anyhow. So, but we need to maybe look at a new standard for the base height, and that way we can if we have a higher height, we make it whatever particular height that's appropriate, or the FAA height limit based on, the gradient of the land and topo wherever something wants to be built. So I think we need to look at that and maybe bring that in a package so we can update some of the crucial things you saw that were a little bit arcane for us. So
Okay.
I think that's something we need to look at in the near future so we can kind of modernize and be a little more appealing to development in general.
Sure. I've been working with the city attorney's office on making changes to our code. I'm bringing some text amendments to the planning commission and to you all in the next coming month or so.
If we can,
So we're moving forward with making some corrections and updates now, and things that might need a bigger picture look, a longer look. I'll be proposing some of those as well soon.
okay, next month or September, October, that'd be really good.
Okay.
All right. All right, so just be aware, we're looking at impact fees would be forthcoming here in the near future at some point, probably next year. When do you plan on having this thing completed?
Well,
Depends on when you get these permits.
as we are able to start very soon with our land disturbance permit, it's about a 10 or 11 month build.
All right.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you.
Item 9A, consideration for mayor and city council to approve Chemi Construction Company for the installation of new water line at Sabrina Willis Park in the amount of $59,150. Installation for the new water line at approximately 330 linear feet. This item is requested by Timothy Lewis, Water Subdivision Superintendent, and Councilman Joe Karn. This is a budgeted item, Fund R&M Distribution, GL account number 505-4400-52-5790, fiscal year 2026. This item will service Ward 2. 9B, consideration for mayor and city council to approve Chemi Construction Company, Inc. for the emergency sewer point repair on Main Street in the amount of $27,500. This item is requested by Timothy Lewis, Water Division Superintendent. This is a budgeted item, Fund R&M Sewers, GL account number 505-4400-5800, fiscal year 2026. This job is completed. This item will serve Ward 1. Item 9C, consideration of an action on a request to contract Augustine Peets for 12 months as a contractor for the project manager for Ward 1 capital improvement projects. The contracted amount is for $36,000. This is a budgeted item, Fund Ward 1 Community Enhancement Capital Outlay, GL account number 100-1100-54-7181, fiscal year 2026. This item is sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Jamel McKenzie. Item 9D, consideration of an action on a request to approve East Coast grading to mill and repave Arundel Lane, Brandon Road, and Williamsburg Drive. This invoice amount is $289,540.26 from East Coast Grading for Ward 4 Street Paving Project, Ward 4 Community Enhancement Capital, fiscal year 2025 to 2026. This is a budget item. This item is sponsored by Councilman Roderick Gay. Item 9E, consideration of an action on a request to approve Moody's Garage, Inc. citywide July and August monthly vehicle maintenance contracts in the amount of $34,375. Connie Rogers, Chief of Police, is requesting payment. This is a budgeted item at a cost of $34,375. Fiscal year 2025 to 2026, citywide departments, R&M vehicles, affects all wards. Item 9F, consideration of an action on a request to approve a change order for A&S Paving, Inc. to perform street resurfacing work on Sullivan Road as an additional street in the amount of $45,205 under the 2025 LMIG Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant Program. This agenda item is being requested by Highway, Streets, and Stormwater Superintendent Raymond Cotton. This is a budgeted item. Fund Streets Resurfacing, GL account number 100-4200-54-7840, fiscal year 2026. This will service Ward 2. Item 9G, consideration of an action on a request for approval to purchase a 2025 John Deere 44P tier wheel loader from Dobbs Equipment under state contract to replace Unit 210 in the amount of $189,428.70. This agenda item is being requested by Highway, Streets, and Stormwater Superintendent Raymond Cotton. This is a budgeted item. Fund Stormwater Utility GL account number 560-4250-54-7630. This will service all wards. Item 9H, consideration of an action on a request to approve the ST English Construction Company in the amount of $468,470 for the construction of the dog park and total project in the amount of $547,817. This is a budgeted item in the amount of $332,000 from Ward 4 Community Enhancements Fund Parks, GL account number 100-6122-54-7851 fiscal year 2025, and request for $215,817 from Parks Recreation Capital Project, GL account 100-6122-54-7920 fiscal year 2026. This is located in Ward 4 and sponsored by Councilman Roderick Gay. 9I, consideration of an action on a request to approve payment to Canoom Construction LLC in the amount of $53,053.59 for remediation work on a city stormwater creek easement located at 4673 Winthrop Drive in College Park, Ward 4. Fund Ward 4 Community Enhancement Capital, GL account 100-1100-54-7184 fiscal year 2026. This item is sponsored by Councilman Roderick Gay. Item 9J, consideration of an action on a request to approve the final payment in the amount of $25,000 to Lexicon Strategies for professional communication services provided to the City of College Park during June and July. This item is requested by Lindell Y. Miller, City Manager, and is a budgeted item. Consulting Services, GL account number 100-1300-52-5450 fiscal year 2025 to 2026. Item 9K, consideration of an action on a request to approve our C-Click Fix software renewal for the amount of $15,233.34. This is a budgeted item, Fund R&M Equipment, GL account number 100-1535-52-5730, fiscal year 2026. This will service all wards. This item is requested by Chief Information Officer Michael Hicks. Item 9L, consideration of an action on a request to purchase and replace Unit 144 Hardy Chevrolet under the state contract in the amount of $46,280. This item is being requested by Carlton Newton, Building and Ground Superintendent. This purchase will service all wards. This is a budgeted item. Fund Vehicle Replace, GL account number 100-5195-54-7590. Item 9N, consideration of an action on a request to authorize Colliers to proceed with hiring Batchelor and Kimball to replace the motor and VFD for cooling tower number 4 that services the chiller plant for $28,210. This item is requested by Lindell Y. Miller, City Manager. 9N, consideration of an action on a request to approve the design and implementation of the 3 crossing locations on Godby Road based on the studies conducted by Metro Traffics. This is a budgeted item from the 2025 Community Enhancements, GL account number 100-4200-54-1400. This item is being sponsored by Councilwoman Tracy Arnold.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion? Of course not. Nope, not on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That is unanimous.
Item 10A for regular business, consideration of an action on a request to propose that each mayor and council member allocate $20,000 from the community enhancement funds towards the City of College Park Homeless Initiative. This request has been introduced by Councilman Carn. It is a budgeted item that impacts all wards. The details are as follows: Fund Community Enhancements, GL 100-1100-52 7281, 7282, 7283, and 7284, and GL account number 100-1300-52-7285, with each community enhancement account contributing $20,000 each. The total contribution will amount to $100,000.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold?
So I know that we had this conversation about the budgeted enhancement funds, right? And I know that I shared that my dollars were already allocated towards different initiatives and projects. So is there another pot of money that we can consider?
Well,
Councilmember Carn?
I think so. And first of all, I think that this is obviously important, just as important as the other priorities in community enhancements, but obviously there's only so much funding to go around. Obviously, we don't want to do anything to increase the budget. Jackson, I know we had talked about this in terms of anyone that had earmarked all of their enhancement funding. Now, we want our homeless in our community, and we have very few, so we're fortunate compared to a lot of cities. But any community need that goes ignored or delayed, it certainly does not just go away. That need increases to a point where if we had committed resources earlier, you could get ahead of the problem. So that's kind of the idea here. You mentioned if someone had their stuff completely earmarked, that there may be some funds that we could look at in terms of supplementing the effort here. Is that something that's a possibility with this? Or?
Yes, Mayor and Councilmember Carn, we could explore cost savings that are identified so far this year with, various positions not being filled. So we could look at those opportunities and reallocate those funds towards this initiative, should it be approved by this body.
Well, this isn't an item that, helping those most in need obviously is important to everybody, I'd imagine, but it may not be as popular with other cities because there are not a lot of votes in helping the homeless. I just go in and say it a lot of the times, and a lot of folks have different interests that this isn't appealing to. I don't think College Park is that city. I think that we all want homeless folks to feel cared for and supported. And in terms of governance, you show your care and support based on appropriations. That means earmarking funding specifically to help those most in need, to help the homeless. I see very few cities that talk about homelessness and the challenges and the issues, but they're far and few that actually put that line item in their budgets and commit funding to the words and intents of good deeds. I want to be the city that does commit to it in terms of finance, and I think this would be a great thing to do, and I think we would all be proud of this, if we can work to head this off and help get some folks off the streets. I've talked to several homeless programs, and there's some great programs around, and I just think this is going to be a positive idea that will affect all wards. And even if you do not see it in your ward, trust me, at the end of the day, if we let this continue, those problems are going to come knocking at your door or at your back door, one way or another, no matter where we live at. So I think this is very worthwhile, and I think it'll pay dividends for us in the future here. So.
Any further discussion?
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem?
very quickly, I'm just glad that Councilman Carn brought this to our attention. This was something that our summer leadership, youth leadership, and I'm just really excited at the fact that we are quickly making a response, because when children recognize something and they have a concern, we need to listen. So I have the same dilemma similar to Councilman Arnold, that I have pretty much allocated the majority of I've allocated my funds. You received that letter where I broke down by line the community enhancement spending for this year. But I definitely, I know this is something that we need to do. So if there's a way that we can find those additional funds, great. If not, I think it's important enough that I'd have to even make some changes in mind. And I would, Councilman Carn, like to make sure that whatever we do in terms of the homelessness or the unhoused initiative, that we do include the young people. We have our civic leadership advisory board, and I've also started a complete youth leadership coalition for the city. And I definitely feel that we should keep our young people involved in this?
Well, I think a big part of this should be spearheaded by those that deal closest with the homeless issue. That's going to be the police department and fire department. I think young people being involved is a good idea. We're going to be handing this over to the future generations at some point in time. But if we're talking about some youth, I think every council member, if we have a young person or a couple of young people that are interested in something along these lines, then we all need to have a young person involved in this to work with, I think, the police and fire department to kind of show them exactly, at the end of the day, a lot of folks are doing pretty good, while at the same time, a lot of folks are struggling month to month. And it doesn't take very long from going month to month to eviction. And then from that to sleeping and living in your car or living in a motel. And from that, losing that room or losing that vehicle, and you can end up there. It can happen very quickly in this kind of economy, in this world that we live in. So we want to provide some type of coverage for those that don't have a voice, and those that don't vote or can't vote, and don't have the mental capacities and are dealing with challenges. I know the Gateway Center has some great programs. When I was county commissioner, we funded them in large amounts. But they had a residential addiction recovery program that was pretty strong. They had a veterans program for low barrier short-term and transitional housing. The New Beginnings program was a 3-month program, and it got folks to re-enter the workplace. They provided educational, legal, and critical life needs. Getting their birth certificates and finding the different things that they needed to put the pieces back together for folks. So I think it's really important. So if we look at something along those lines, if we have some youth involved or a youth faction of it, I want this to be led by police and fire, and I want them to look at some of the community services that are already in effect, where we could that would give us the most benefit, and maybe come back with some suggestions on it. But I want us to commit today to moving forward with this if we can. I think this is going to be something that all of us will receive good blessings from at the end of the day.
So I don't know what this is. We've talked about this, and I've heard police and fire are going to run this, and then I heard that that there are good community programs, so we could do this. I don't know what this is. Is it making sure that we do a count at the beginning and our homeless population has reduced by a certain period, by a certain amount in a certain time frame? Is it that we are meeting immediate needs? Is it that we're providing jobs? There's a lot of things that we can do. And the thing that I want to be careful of is tasking our first responders with additional work when they are stretched to all sorts of capacity. And I think it makes sense for us, if this is something that is a priority for this governing body, to send out an RFP and see what agencies can help us and tackle the issues that we identify, and then come back and say, okay, how do we achieve these goals? Because it's not, I saw the presentation that was made by the summer youth participants in the last meeting. That is the same information that's in the packet tonight. It lacks specificity, it lacks details. I don't know what the money is being used for. So I have an issue committing community enhancement dollars to an initiative that I'm completely unclear about. But I know that Councilmember Gay had something to say.
I just needed some clarity. I heard something about we were going to pay for rooms at Gateway. That's what I heard. Is this money have anything to do with paying for rooms at Gateway?
Well, one of the outfits I talked to was the Gateway Center, who I had worked with years ago. They're a lot of times at capacity. They probably have a pretty decent comprehensive program. Those other programs I mentioned were part of their programming, the Upwards deal for addiction recovery and the Veterans Program, and the New Beginnings 3-month program. So they're one of many that do this type of stuff. Again, police and fire deal with our homelessness issue more than anyone else. A lot of times we're doing 911 calls for folks at the end of the evening or morning when the MARTA train stations close at the airport in College Park Station, for instance. A lot of these individuals are homeless, and they ride the trains throughout the day, and when the evenings come and when it's cold, a lot of times they end up at the College Park train station, and our fire department can definitely attest to this over the years. And we start getting inundated with calls for emergency services, and they're asking to be transported, or they have an ache, and so on and so forth. A lot of times it's to get back downtown or get to somewhere where there is shelter, perhaps. But those resources for 911 resources are inundated with a lot of calls, when at the same time, some of our residents that may be having a real emergency and incident, not that theirs isn't serious, but a lot of the times it's based on some of their conditions and other things. So it's costing us right now in a lot of ways. In terms of how this money will be spent, we want to sit down, city manager, with police, with fire, with us, and allocate where it can best be used. But the first thing that I think needs to happen is that we need to make a commitment. What is this money for? It's for serving the common good. And this is our attempt to do our best to at least look out for those that aren't in as good a shape as some of our other residents. We've all have a requirement to serve everybody as best as we can. We got programs for seniors. We got programs for young people. We have programs for homeowners. We have no programs codified in this budget for the homeless, and this is a small amount without expanding this budget that I would like us to commit to this evening. And city manager, I want you to get with staff and work out some appropriations and appropriate uses for that and bring that back to us so we can implement some of this stuff come fall. And I want to get started as soon as we can with this, and we want to hear from our young people's input on it as well. But I think this is worthwhile, and I think we'd be doing the right thing, and I think waiting is not an option. Because if you're out there in the streets, believe me, waiting is not an option.
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I did talk to Councilman Carn because I had some questions about, of course, I am totally wanting us to do something to help the unhoused, and the understanding that I have with this, which gave me comfort, is that we have not allocated any funding at all in our budget ever to deal with, the issues of the unhoused. And I know several, and in terms of police officers, I'm not going to name the names, but I could name police officers over the years who have paid out of their own pockets to put people in hotels, rooms that they have, picked up on the streets, families. I have been called over and over and over again, myself as a chaplain for the city, and then a nonprofit leader. So, and then my nonprofit didn't have the funds necessarily to continue to assist people. So I think what we're talking about here is we're not necessarily saying that $100,000 goes into a particular program, but that there's a willingness on the part of the body to include $100,000 to be set aside for us to determine how that will assist our unhoused population, which may be several things, as Councilman Gay has said, hotel gateway, hotel rooms, having some additional food and clothing drives, working with other nonprofits. So, but right now we don't have any funds to assist with that. Am I correct, Councilman Carn, that this was really just so we can say, because when we do have a project, we're going to come back again and say that we want to use 30,000 of this 100,000 per se. But this is just really to say, let's allocate it, let's carve it out, either of our community enhancement priorities or out of our general budget, so that we do have something there. Am I correct?
If you don't have any funding, in my opinion, you do not have any official commitment in terms of government and public policy. Funding speaks the loudest. Rhetoric is great, but at the end of the day, your priorities are based, you want to look at someone's priorities, look at their budget. And this is the least we could do.
I'm still unclear as to what it is. And so, Councilmember Carn, to your point about our first responders being stretched in different directions and addressing addressing calls that aren't emergencies. I actually had the opportunity, I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but to ride with Grady EMS about a week and a half ago. And they talked about a program that is being used in the city of Atlanta, the city of Sandy Springs, to help divert some of those calls. And it might actually help if we can, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here because I wanted to talk to the city manager and fire about it, but it's something that I'll be having those conversations about, because it is a program that basically does help to divert those folks who don't have emergencies but are calling 911. That already exists. So I don't know that we need to reinvent the wheel. I'm not saying that we shouldn't or that we can't do this work, but I think it is incumbent upon us to do the research first, because if we've got to figure out how we get the most bang for our buck. So we don't even know what we're trying to achieve. I've heard a very wide range of goals. And if we don't know what our goal is from the start, I have no idea how we're going to achieve any particular metrics that will show that we've done something. And I think our taxpayers, when we are using their money, deserve to know how it's being spent. And for some of these things that we're talking about, I'm not sure that the city can buy someone a hotel room. I'm not sure that might run afoul of the gratuities clause. Mr. Denmark?
Perhaps just in isolation, it's kind of hard to answer that in the abstract, but it would certainly raise that concern, Mayor.
Okay, so I think there's an opportunity for us to look comprehensively at how we address it, what our goals are as a city, and then allocate the appropriate amount. I'm not saying that I'm opposed to allocating community enhancement funds, but I need to understand what it is. Serving the common good is what we do with $220 million. So the lack of specificity here concerns me, and I think all of us should get together and figure it out, because I think it is an important issue, and it deserves our attention and our care. Councilmember Carn?
Well, I think the appropriate amount is to start somewhere, for starters. Number two, I think I know exactly where we're going to get the most bang for our buck, and that starts with our city manager. I think you and your staff, putting their brilliant minds together, I think you will come up with things, and we will come up with programs and come up with the most appropriate uses for these funds, and we will spend them quickly, and we will get the help directly to residents in need, homeless persons, without middlemen. If there's some things, we have to follow guidelines and rules and regulations, obviously, in terms of if there's a community service provider that we utilize, like these outfits that have had long years in homelessness, then you all make the appropriate judgment, and you bring it back to us, and we move forward. The important thing is that we get started, and that there's a willingness to commit funding towards getting started. You don't always know what the next step is, but you got to take the first step, and this is the first step.
Mayor?
Okay, I believe Councilmember Arnold, and then I'll come to you.
Certainly.
So while I agree that this is, that we have a need and that the need needs to be addressed, and that this is a very honorable thing to do for our unhoused population, my community enhancement budget that was submitted before we did the budget, before we approved the budget, my list exceeded what we already had. So, which I planned for it over the past year with my constituents to address some of the things that they wanted to see. And so I think that it's great that we should do this work, but I don't have the $20,000 because my budget was already over the amount that was going to be allocated. So I recommend and I'm suggesting that we look at possibly those cost savings, those salary savings, to then to allocate and set aside rather than to hit up against our community enhancement funds, especially in my case, where I've already committed all of those dollars to initiatives that my constituents are looking forward to me making sure that they come to fruition. So if we can adjust this or amend this action to then see where we have the savings to set aside and then talk about how we would spend these dollars towards those individuals who are in need, I'm all for that.
Okay, well, I for one.
Hold on, Mayor Pro Tem.
I just wanted to say that I'm totally on the same page with Councilwoman Arnold in terms of, what she said. But I want to clarify that I'm fully aware of the gratuities clause. When I was mentioning that police officers were spending their own money, it was because they did not have anywhere else to turn to. Steve Alexander, who's the pastor of, his church was on Main Street, but now Roosevelt Highway. He was his church used to actually have the funds, and then once COVID came, he was one of our main, for the police department, he was one of the main persons that would help us. So when I'm looking at funding, the funding would either go to an organization like Gateway or whoever we find. We're not talking about the city putting money into people's hands, but we are talking about the city being able to utilize those funds to give it to the organizations and for us to contract with organizations that they have a pot that can be used. So when one of my police officers has a situation like this, they know that they can call or that they can, because the police, we're mentioning the police and fire because those are the employees that come in contact with these circumstances more often than the rest of us. And it's really frustrating for them to not be able to do something and to not be able to know who to go to. And the issue has been with several of these, and I can talk about this all day, I'm gonna shut up, but we've had several organizations, even these that are shelters, and they're not open. Okay, so after a certain time on the weekend, you can't get in. And then if they have no room or they're open and they don't have space, they can't take our people. So what we're looking at is establishing some type of contractual relationships where we would have priority or with those organizations, or we would have an organization again that we knew we could call and they could utilize the funds that we contracted with them. So that's just the.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Councilmember Gay.
Since we calling out people who started programs, so we gonna go there.
Oh, I apologize.
No.
Councilmember Gay, go right ahead.
I wasn't trying to be political.
Councilmember Gay has the floor. Councilmember, go ahead.
I mean, we appointed a night to do this work, right? Didn't we appoint a night?
Yep.
So I don't have the $20,000, man, and I think you should call for the vote and just see where it rides.
Is there any additional discussion?
Well,
Councilmember Carn?
I had money that I did want to allocate towards this project. And I understand if there are other folks that had money earmarked, I understand that. Jackson, if we can find some additional funding to supplement, I would be willing to put in 20, I would be willing to put in 40 towards this project if we can make up the rest of it through some funds in terms of unspent funds from July through to this thus far. If we can do that without increasing the budget, without the budget adjustment, but if there's some type of a budget transfer where we can make this possible, that'd be great.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I thought that we were going to adjust the,
There's been no,
I just mentioned that in what I just said to Jackson about, I would be willing to allocate a certain amount of money out of my community enhancement account. The rest, we
so how
rely on
does
city
the clerk
manager
have
and finance
it
to.
documented?
that wasn't a, that
Well,
wasn't
my
an amendment.
motion is-
That wasn't an amendment. If you,
I'll
Councilmember
modify
Carn,
that
if
motion.
you'd like to make an amendment to your motion, that's right ahead, go right ahead.
All right, so we're going to amend my motion, obviously. Outside, in addition to anybody that wanted to contribute out of their community enhancement funds. City manager, I'm going to ask that, you get with finance and see if there's some funding, unspent funding from this budget year that could possibly supplement this project and initiative. And you all get the ball rolling on it with the rest of your staff and see if we can find some appropriate programs and help for folks.
Madam Clerk, do you have that motion down?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Could you read it? Make sure everybody's on the same page.
Councilman Carn amended his motion that in addition to the $20,000 from his community enhancement funds, to have staff seek if there's unspent funding in other areas to go towards the community and, pardon me, not community enhancement, the homeless initiative.
Okay, so this is $20,000 out of Councilmember Carn's community enhancement.
I'm willing to put up to 40 out of my
40,
my
okay.
enhancements, yes.
Okay, so this is a motion, this motion has been amended to do $40,000 out of Councilmember Carn's community enhancement and then instruct staff to find additional funds from cost savings thus far in the fiscal year.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Who had the second?
I seconded it, but I'm also, I know that Tracy Arnold and I have an issue, but is there anyone else in the governing body that would like to take out of their community enhancements towards that before we task staff to identify 60,000? I mean, we've been clear that we don't have it. So,
I understand, and I'm not faulting anyone. Obviously, you guys earmark your funds, understandable. If there is any residual or whatever that you do have that you want to pitch towards this effort, great, but we want to try to get to that goal if we can. If you can find it, like the mayor said, through unspent, unutilized funding, then that'll be great.
All right, so this, Mayor Pro Tem, does your second still stand?
yeah, I was just wondering if
Okay.
anybody, I just wanted, did you want to give any of your community enhancement towards it?
I don't know what it is, so no,
Oh, so
not at
you're
this
not
time.
willing, okay.
At this time, I am not willing because.
I know Councilman Gay's probably
I'm
spent
still
all
talking.
his too.
At this time, I'm not willing because I want to see other programs come to fruition and understand what this is. I want deliverables for our community, for the people that we serve. And right now, there are none. So I am perfectly willing to support this endeavor when it actually comes into shape. But I've heard a whole lot of stuff and I still don't know what it is. And so if you if you stand by that second, so this is $40,000 of Councilmember Carn's community enhancement with a directive to staff to seek additional funding from cost savings thus far in the fiscal year. All right, so the second holds. Any further discussion?
And city manager, we want you to come back with some deliverables once you and your team do your homework on it.
And I want to clarify, hopefully in the second, that we understand that this is not money that we are spending, this is an allocation. This is us saying that we will make available up to $100,000 to put into an initiative to assist the unhoused. And how that money is spent will come back to this council. But for spending, we are not agreeing to give any one organization or any particular programs any funding. We are just saying we're carving out of the budget $100,000 to say we are making a commitment to assist those who are in need amongst us, because there, by the grace of God, any of us could be unhoused. Most of us are just a paycheck away from being the unhoused. And it's easy for us to sit in our crystal castles and say, if it comes up, we'll deal with it. But I know one thing, my daddy taught me, that you should always have a budget and you should have a savings. And that savings may not ever be spent, but it's there just in case you need it when you need it. And that's what I look at this. We're just saying we're going to make sure that $100,000 of $40,000 of Councilman Carnes, $60,000 out of wherever we can find it is set aside just in case. And once we have a program, we'll utilize those funds, because now we'll have the funds. It won't be like myself, or I won't say Councilman Arn, but myself right now, I've put all of my funds into programs. And I would hate for us to get to the place where we can't assist persons in this community because we did not put aside those funds. So that's where my second comes in. It's not for any particular program. It's about an allocation.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's
Aye for the 20.
Yeah.
It was 40.
40.
Councilmember Carnes.
Right.
All right. So that's unanimous on Councilmember Carnes' $40,000, and staff is tasked to see if they can find additional savings in the budget. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Up to 100,000.
Item 10B, consideration of an action on a request to approve an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, between College Park and BIDA. This item is sponsored by Lindell Y. Miller, City Manager.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Item 10C, consideration of an action to adopt the City of College Park, Georgia's financial management policy for BIDA transactions. This item is sponsored on behalf of Lindell Y. Miller, City Manager.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold?
So my question about this policy is, why are we creating policy for another entity?
Mr.
Mayor.
Denmark?
We're not creating a policy for another entity. As everybody knows, BIDA is a separate and distinct legal entity created by a 1980 amendment to the Georgia Constitution. So they are a constitutional authority wholly separate from the City of College Park. Despite that, BIDA has a lot of interactions with the City of College Park, and BIDA is funded by the City of College Park. So while BIDA is a legally separate, independent entity, they are financially dependent on the City of College Park. So how does the interaction, what does that look like? So if BIDA is going to make a request for city money, what rules govern that? We all are aware of recent incidents where City of College Park money has been spent on BIDA matters without the approval of either the College Park, well, I'll stick to that, without the approval or the awareness of the mayor and city council. So we're not creating a policy for BIDA. We would be creating a policy for the City of College Park that says that whenever BIDA requests money from the City of College Park, here's what we at the City of College Park are going to do to handle those requests. So we're governing ourselves, and we have not governed ourselves in the past. BIDA has asked for money, or money has been spent, and I don't think any one of you up there would know how it was spent, when it was spent, who authorized it, where. I mean, so, you know, BIDA is kind of a nebulous mystery, and it ought not be that way since we're spending City of College Park money on behalf of BIDA. So this policy would create rules that govern us, the city of College Park, the city manager, finance director, and staff on when BIDA makes a request for public money from College Park, here are the rules that we follow. The IGA would have done something similar. The IGA would have said, because here's the thing, the city of College Park has no legal obligation to give BIDA any money. We just don't. The 1980 constitutional amendment does not require us to do so. And that constitutional amendment, is really an amendment to the Georgia Constitution. So it is not only state law, it's the highest state law. It's a constitutional amendment. So it trumps a state statute. But that constitutional amendment, you can read it and you would search in vain to find any provision that says the city of College Park is obligated to fund BIDA. So we don't have a duty or a legal obligation to give BIDA any money or to provide them with any space or staff or anything. We have done that for decades, but we've done it without any agreement that governs our relationship. And for many years, that wasn't necessary because we just got along famously with BIDA and everything just proceeded for decades. I think everybody would agree that recent events makes that less the case. And so the goal was to have an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement, where we agree and BIDA agree on the terms of our relationship. Because right now there are no terms. We don't have a statutory obligation to fund them. We have no contract or agreement with them to do anything for them. And I think that's untenable. That's no way to run a railroad, especially when we're dealing with millions of dollars that go back and forth, and not to mention real property. It's a lot of money, and with no rules that govern how it gets transferred back and forth. So the IGA would have been a voluntary agreement between the city of College Park and BIDA that put parameters on the relationship. The financial policy is an internal College Park document in terms of how we govern ourselves in our interactions with BIDA.
Mr. Denmark, I'm sorry,
have
go
a-
ahead, Councilmember Arnold.
So I have a follow-up question based on that. If we are not obligated to provide funding to BIDA, then there's no need for the policy. Then we don't fund them. They need to come up with their own money, as far as I'm concerned. We shouldn't have to create policy for something, for a relationship if we're not obligated to it, correct?
Well, BIDA has been a partner with the city of College Park on many. We have gone to BIDA and said, we want to transfer this property to you because if we had to sell the property, then there's a state statute that requires us to go through a bid process. There's a whole cumbersome process that we have to go through. It's easier to use BIDA as a conduit to issue bonds, to transfer real estate. So BIDA has been extraordinarily useful and a valuable partner to the city of College Park over the decades. And that's many councils, many mayors, many city managers, over the years. So yes, we don't have a legal obligation to fund BIDA, but BIDA has been a valuable partner over the years and will continue to be, I imagine, a valuable partner over the years. So you can, it's up to the elected officials to decide what we do in terms of funding BIDA. I imagine we will continue to fund BIDA and to use them as a partner and a conduit to facilitate College Park transactions. The issue is, what does that look like? What rules govern our relationship? What procedures, benchmarks, protocols do we adhere to when millions of dollars and acres of land are going back and forth?
So, Mr. Denmark, hold on 1 second. All right. Councilmember Arnold, I have a question, and then I'll go to Councilmember Carn.
Yeah, one follow-up question. So, but now, the BIDA, is it true that you and the BIDA attorney have a conversation or scheduled for later on this week? Okay, all right. Okay, I want to confirm that before I made any decisions. Okay, go ahead.
So, Mr. Denmark, you're saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I just want to make sure that I understand what you're saying, that considering we've got public money here, we should have an accounting for it and understand how it's being spent.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. I just think I don't say anything negative about how we've done business in the past because, the proof's in the pudding, right? And we've had some amazing results with our partners at BIDA over the years, and that is what that is. But I think recent events have given all of us cause for concern, And I think we need to do business differently now, and we need to have a structured relationship that provides a lot more transparency, accountability, and protocols that protect public money from mismanagement. And I think that this financial policy is a step towards doing that, and I think the IGA is a step to doing that. And it is my recommendation that at this meeting or another meeting that we reconsider whether or not we need an IGA with BIDA. I think it is desperately needed because right now we're flying without a net.
Let me ask a question about the financial policy in regard to the IGA. Was there a particular reason that you didn't put the two of them together so that there was essentially one document that not only described the relationship, but how we would deal as a city with VITA funds?
Yes, ma'am. It kind of goes back to Councilman Arnold's first point. I didn't want to try to create rules for VITA. I think that there needs to be an internal policy, and reasonable minds can differ on this, certainly, but I think there needs to be an internal City of College Park policy on how we're going to deal with VITA and any other authorities that may be created over the years. I just think we need to have rules that govern us, separate and apart from our relationship with our partners. And so, because one day this council or future council may create an urban redevelopment agency or a downtown development authority. It'll be the same thing. We would need rules and parameters that govern our relationship with these authorities. But separate and apart from those rules that govern the relationship, and by way of an IGA, I think there needs to be a separate policy, City of College Park policy, on how we're going to do business.
I certainly understand the perspective. I think I don't disagree with you on the IGA. I think it makes more sense for council, for both organizations to have a conversation and see if we can come to an agreement prior to putting it on the agenda and not having that. Ms. Wiley indicated at the BIDA meeting on Wednesday that she'd not had an opportunity to review it. So I think if this body were to have passed the IGA tonight, then there might have been revisions that needed to come back. And so I think that there's an opportunity, I mean, even as an addendum for the IGA, so that if we are trying to make this partnership seamless, they would formally understand what the internal practices of the city are. So I understand your perspective as well, but that's just where I was thinking about it. But Councilmember Carn?
Well, Mayor, I agree with you on that item in particularly. As far as the IGA, obviously we need an intergovernmental agreement with BIDA that's proper. I'd like to discuss an IGA in a joint meeting and start the ball rolling that way. That's why I wasn't for it right now tonight. But clearly, there is a need to raise the guardrails in terms of BIDA. Now, in terms of financial requirements in this second item, agenda item here, in particularly expense and contract approval and requirements, that's something that's going to be very much needed. I do believe that these two documents probably still need to be separate documents as you've kind of placed them, because the BIDA charter is very clear in terms of BIDA's, autonomy and sovereignty and establishment. But the charter doesn't speak, and bylaws don't speak much to it in regards to required funding from the city. So that's where I think the separation comes in, but you want both documents to be seamless, like the mayor said, and I agree with that. But we got some work to do there, and we've got to make sure that what occurred will never, ever happen again in this city. So we need to make sure we're being very specific, and that IGA needs to involve the BIDA board members as well, and work together on getting that resolved.
I think Mayor Protem had, hold on, Councilmember. Did you have something?
Yeah, I did. Okay. I did. I was just going to echo that. I definitely believe that the IGA and hopefully even when you meet with the BIDA attorney this week, that's something that you all can begin to work on. I believe it should be jointly crafted, but we definitely need, in terms of the financial management, the City of College Park, which is funding BIDA in general, should be the ones that determine how those finances are handled. So I do agree with that, and I do appreciate the two separate agreements, because I feel like we're looking at apples and oranges. And so that was all I was going to say.
Councilmember Gay?
Yeah, well, I don't appreciate spending 10 minutes or 20 minutes to talk about $20,000 and Biden owes $20 million, and there was not a word from anybody. I don't get it. I mean, the public don't know that Attorney Wiley is going to be speaking to them. All they hear is that there was silence from all of y'all when there was a conversation to talk about an IGA. And earlier conversations that I talked with some of my colleagues was clear that this was a step to start a conversation, and that Biden gets to add to it. So I want to say that about that IGA. The second thing I want to say, and I'm not as linguistically astute as the gentleman here, but what I do want to say is that we need to put safeguards in it tonight, and if we don't, Biden owes us how much, Terry? About 20, how much they owe us?
$9 million.
$9 million in debt, and no clear paths of paying it back that I'm aware of. I mean, they may sell some land, but good luck with that. So then there's millions of dollars that's just going out about it. You got people writing checks, asking for checks, and don't even want to talk to us about how they just want to ask for checks. They want to go straight to Terry and ask for checks. We're not going to do that.
Absolutely.
We're not going to do that. You're not going to sell us our taxpayer money to go pay a nonprofit, a volunteer board. So whether y'all want to vote for this or not tonight, that's fine. But we're not. We're going to do something about this whole Biden thing.
Well,
Councilmember Carn?
And I agree with you, Councilmember Gay. This financial management policy does tighten that up and prevent those things from happening. But we need to work on that IGA and make it even tighter. But it takes a joint effort for that. I think we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, more or less. At the end of the day, we've got to, give the guidance in terms of Biden. Obviously, we appoint our members, and we want them and us to be on the same page in terms of what we're trying to do and goals. I think everybody understands safeguarding and making sure funding issues like what happened aren't going to happen again on the Biden end as well as this council in particular. So I don't think any of us want to see anything like that happen again. This is the start to that with this document. The IGA is going to be the second half of that. We need to get on that and put in a joint meeting for Biden, which we can call at any point that we want to get that IGA discussed and lay out any additional safeguards that Biden may have as well.
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I was surprised that Biden did not, I think that this, back to the financial agreement that we're looking at, it pretty much mirrors how we handle finances in the city, which helps us to just stay on the same page and for it to be clear. So, and Biden did have the opportunity to vote on a financial management plan and could not come to an agreement. So here we are now, and I definitely believe more than ever before, we definitely need to go ahead and put something in place.
So,
Councilmember Arnold?
right, so, and I understand the policy. I understand that we need the policy in order to safeguard the city's funds. I think the part that still has me in this position of where I'm still questioning the documentation is, we say that BIDA is a separate entity, but the verbiage still intertwines BIDA with the city. For example, when we start talking about the duties of the economic development director, right, that executive director, having the split duties between the two entities, which then convolutes whether or not if it's two separate entities, for me. Now, that may not be true for anyone else, but for me, it makes it very difficult for me to say, it's a separate entity. They do their own thing. They have their own charter. They manage their own funds, but yet we have an individual who's going to have some responsibilities on both sides of the fence.
Yes.
So help me, make it make sense for me.
Mr. Denmark?
Sure. The Economic Development Director for the City of College Park has traditionally served as the body executive director. And that individual kind of wears two hats to a certain extent, because every other week when direct deposit hits his or her account, it comes from one place, y'all, City of College Park. And I think the Economic Development Director understands where his or her bread is buttered. Now, you could consider letting BIDA hire its own executive director, but at the end of the day, BIDA doesn't have the money to pay an economic development director. They just don't. And so it's kind of like, being 18, living in your mama's house and saying, I'm grown, but you ain't got no money. So it's just like, so what are you really? What are you? And so they can be independent all they want, but to the extent they're going to come to this government, which is a separate government that owes them no money, owes them no legal, as Councilman Gay pointed out, they owe us money. So we don't owe them to fund them. We just don't. But if they're going to come to us and say, we need money for X, Y, and Z, well, then we need to, on our side of it, not separate and apart from BIDA and IGA, but on our side, the City of College Park, we need to have a policy that governs how we are going to vet those requests, what we're going to do to ensure that there's no fraud or no misuse, that they're complying with our purchasing policy and all the rules that we have for contracting and procurement. So we need to make sure of that to get our house in order, because I know we can point the finger at BIDA, and that's legitimately so, but there's some things that we need to do internally to get our house in order, and having a policy that governs us is the first step. We need to think about it like that. We are governing ourselves, putting rules on us and how our staff interacts with BIDA. That's what it's about.
Understood. And I understand that from the beginning. It gets convoluted when we get to that section that then talks about the responsibilities of the Economic Development Director.
I don't think we're here
Hold
talking.
on. Hold on.
That's why.
Councilmember Arnold?
Right, so that's where it gets confusing for me, right? I understand that everything should be separate, but then when it gets there, it's no longer separate. So can we clean that up where we separate those, yeah?
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to take a look at that language and make it cleaner if you like. Yes, ma'am.
I'm okay.
Councilmember Gay?
I'm okay with cleaning language up, but we're talking about our money right now. We're not talking about job duties. We're talking about clearly what we're talking about is how those people interact with us for our money. Those duties are separate. Deal with that in the IGA. But tonight, we're putting safeguards on how they access our money.
Exactly.
Period.
Right.
Councilmember Carn?
These expenditure thresholds are proper, and that's what we need to get, and then we can get to the IGA and get that together and straighten out some of those things, Councilwoman Arnold, you mentioned. So, but this handles, this puts.
I get it.
Yeah, this does what we need to do right now.
Councilmember Gay?
I'm gonna need to make a motion.
There's already a motion.
Is there a second?
There has been a second.
Yep.
We're in discussion.
All right. Well, we've all been heard
vote.
now.
Let's
Call
vote.
for the vote.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
I with the corrections, the adjustments that we just mentioned.
There hasn't been an amendment. So,
If I may, Madam Mayor, it could be subject to approval, subject to amendments to clarify pursuant to Councilman Arnold's request.
No. The vote was called. The vote was passed. There's no amendments. We need to move to the next item.
hold on.
You can't just go back and start unwinding votes, Mayor. Now,
Councilmember, hold on.
do your job.
Councilmember, I'm here. I would suggest that you are out of order with that, but we're going to keep on moving forward. And Madam Clerk?
Madam Mayor, what was the vote from Councilwoman Arnold?
The vote for Councilwoman Arnold.
Councilmember, hold on.
In favor or?
In favor with the recommendations, the suggestions that the city attorney made.
Councilmember, that wasn't an amendment, though. I mean, it was,
But that's what I asked for.
I understand, but that's not, no one made that amendment. So,
Well, Ms. Arnold, why don't Councilwoman?
So
So
why don't you
unanimous,
get
Madam
with
Mayor?
them next
no,
week
hold
and
on,
y'all work
wait,
out
hold
an
on one
IGA.
second. Hold on.
It's just that
So,
simple.
hold on. So, at this point, someone could reconsider that vote and make another motion that would incorporate what you did. But how do you vote on the,
I mean, if I might, Madam Mayor, there were 3 votes to approve. I think that just like any other policy, it can be amended in the future.
Yes.
And so we can come back at the very next meeting, and I'll take that as a direction to bring some amendments to the already passed policy. So if we can just move forward tonight with the 3 affirmative votes to pass this policy, and then at the very next meeting, we'll put on the agenda some clarifying amendments to the policy to Councilman Arnold's point.
okay, all right.
Well, with
hold-
that, then I accept that.
So what is your vote? Your
My vote is aye.
All right, so
In
that
the
is
affirmative.
unanimous.
And I just want to mention, City Attorney, this executive director, this is just a definition in this document. So it's not codifying that. It's just a current definition. That's all it is. So it does not affect the financial requirements, the thresholds, so on and so forth. But this is something that we do need to.
Absolutely.
So it's only a definition in here. It's not a requirement of.
Yeah, but we're accepting it as is,
But
so.
we're accepting this current definition, the IGA. That's when we
Understood.
resolve what the functions and the duties are. This is just a
Okay.
definition.
All right, so we are moving forward.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk?
Item 10D, consideration of an action on a request to approve an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 1, Section 2-7 of the city's Code of Ordinances regarding surplus property.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Gay?
Is there an opportunity to donate any of the property to nonprofits and not go for auction?
Mr. Denmark? And Mr. Jones?
What was that question?
Is there an opportunity to donate any of the property to a nonprofit and not put it in the auction?
I hadn't checked it as of yet, but I can check in the deposit to see.
Mr. Denmark?
It's all old friend, the gratuities clause. Now, we could say that the property doesn't have any value. If we say that the property that we determine to be surplus has no quote-unquote value, then we might be okay. So theoretically, yes, but it's going to be on a case-by-case basis.
Well, let me ask the question another way. Can we not auction some items and sell it to a nonprofit at a reduced value? Or at its value?
Probably, yes. And I know what you're trying to accomplish. We could, but we just have to be mindful of the gratuities clause. We don't have to get, we have to get something that approximates fair market value. And so if this thing has very little value, then we got some flexibility. But, so I know what we're trying to do, and if that's the goal, we can try to accomplish that, but we have to accomplish it within the bounds of the law.
We need to.
Councilmember Carn?
We need to look at some charitable options for some of this stuff. Yeah, that's a good idea.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Item 10E, consideration of an action on a request to approve the sale of city surplus items.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve with the consideration that some items might be sold to nonprofits.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Item 10F, consideration of an action on a request to approve 2 invoices from Starkey Law Group LLC, the June 2025 invoice in the amount of $32,167.50 and July 2025 invoice in the amount of $31,870.99. This item is requested by Lindell Y. Miller, City Manager.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Item 11, City Attorney's Report.
No further report this evening, Madam Mayor.
12, City Manager's Report.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council, my report was sent over last week, and I would also like to thank my staff for their hard work.
13, Report of Mayor and Council.
Well, we've had some losses in our College Park family recently, and so I want to offer my condolences to someone we heard a lot about today, Lance Terry and his family, on the loss of Mr. Terry's mother, Barbara Bobby Gant White. It was a lovely service today, and just like we are a family, a lot of us showed up. So I know Councilmember Karn was there, lots of folks from Recreation, our director, Ms. Johnson. It showed exactly how we wrap our arms around people, and just keep him and his family in your prayers, along with the family of Pamela Massey, our police department jailer, who passed away. And just know that our thoughts and our prayers are with you during this incredibly difficult time. I want to thank our hardworking police department for another successful national night out. Other cities decided that they were not going to do it. They saw some storm clouds and thought that was going to stop everything, but our folks said, no way. We're doing it. We're making it happen. And it was a fantastic event. The 911 band had everybody out dancing, and we were fortunate to be one of 4 cities in the country to receive a $10,000 grant from ADT for all of our hard work. And I just want to thank Chief Rogers and her staff. This is an event that is months and months and months in planning. It does not happen overnight, and it takes so many community partners to make it happen. Thank you, thank you, thank you for making it a night to remember. Over the weekend, I had the honor of delivering words of encouragement to the United Medical and Business Institute at their commencement ceremony. We have a whole new crop of medical assistants, dental assistants, and cybersecurity professionals that were trained and educated right here in College Park, who are ready to enter the workforce. I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to attend. I want to thank Quintasha Swanson and Noel Maskey, who did the announcing of the graduates as they crossed the stage. Amazing stories that they all brought, and I know that they are going to make an impact on our workforce. The valedictorian 4 years ago left his home country in South America to come here on a dream, and he is thriving and gave such an inspirational talk to everyone about the challenges that he faced, and he and his classmates talked a lot about the challenges of being adults with responsibilities like kids and everything else that they had to deal with to make it through. But they persevered, and it was such a wonderful, proud moment for everyone in the room. There was standing room only, and I have never been to a graduation that had a live band before, but they played us out on Boots on the Ground, so that was pretty fun. So congratulations again to all the UMBI graduates. And as I said earlier, I had the opportunity to ride along with Grady EMS because they perform pivotal work in our community, and I wanted an opportunity to see it close up. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the dedicated professionals who answer that 911 call and ensure that our communities are safe. Incredible, incredible group of people. I actually went the day after the tragic circumstances at the CDC, And we talked a lot about how they had been impacted by that event and how they went into a certain kind of mode to make sure that everyone was safe. So thank you to Grady EMS for the opportunity. They said I could come back. I would love to see it again because the work that they do in our community is absolutely exceptional. And as I said, I did learn about a program that is being used in other metro Atlanta cities that helps divert 911 calls to get people the assistance that they actually need, whether that is a ride to the doctor, or sometimes they can even do telehealth right on the spot to address some of the issues that folks are dealing with, so you can divert some of those calls from the emergency room and keep the emergency room for actual emergencies. So it's a great program that has shown some promise in other areas, and I hope to bring it back so we can have some bigger conversations about it. And I think Councilmember Arnold and I were both at the American Council of Engineering Companies of Georgia's networking event last week. We were there at different times. She covered the beginning, I covered the end.
Vice versa.
Yeah, sorry?
That's right.
Yeah. So it was an interesting opportunity to learn more about the work that engineers do across the metro region. And I got peppered with questions, and I'm not sure about you, Councilmember Arnold, but I got peppered with questions that I wasn't really sure of because they got down in the details and they wanted to know a lot about our city. But it also made me come back with a greater appreciation for what engineers do. And on Friday, I had the chance to attend the Council for Quality Growth's 5th Annual Intersection Conference, which is a gathering not only of public policy leaders, but the business community as well. And some of the superstar mayors in our region, Mayor Rusty Paul, Mayor Beverly Burks, and Mayor Vince Williams of Sandy Springs, Clarkston, and Union City respectively, gave a great talk about how they are improving access to green spaces in their communities. And they also talked about our challenges with infrastructure. So I'm really glad that we are able to be forward-thinking, and we've connected with Turnip Seed engineers to get a plan for how we use our municipal option sales tax money. That is really important, fundamental work to the growth of our community. But they talked about those green spaces, and I think how they talked about how they really lend to a greater, better community. And we have an opportunity to expand upon our green spaces. I think we should save the ones we've got, including Bill Evans Field. I still don't think it's too late because we have an opportunity to do the right thing. And lastly, I brought this up at the last meeting. I think that it is important in light of the consent agenda that we passed tonight that we'll probably do down the line as well. We have some rough sketches. Some of my colleagues have been more specific than others about how they want to spend their community enhancement dollars. If we don't have specific line items, I think that those items should be placed on the regular agenda for discussion. In regard to item 9C, I believe tonight, that particular item was indicated in our agenda packet for $36,000. That's not exactly how much it could ultimately be. And we are talking about a project management position for a professional services contract where we don't know if there's an actual certification in project management. So again, you'll hear me say it once, you'll hear me say it twice, you'll hear me say it 1,000 times. You deserve to know how your money's being spent. Regardless, period. Some people may not like to hear it, but I'm going to keep on asking the questions. How are we spending your money? You deserve to know. I appreciate all of you who are still tuning in, and I'm going to hand it over to the Mayor Pro Tem.
One moment while I work with the volume, please. Oh, no.
I have the same thing on mine.
That's mine, Kel.
I know,
Mine
that's
too,
both of
so
us.
all of them are about to go off.
We're having a fabulous time today here at the Dr. Margaret Wilson Garden at Brady Recreation Center. We brought several of our seniors out so that they could enjoy our garden today, but we also took them to the tech lab. We let them see the kitchen that we have here at Brady and just letting them know about all the programs that we're having. So it's just, the day is beautiful. Hey, I even got a pepper, but I'm not going to eat it right now because I heard it's really hot. But we're building College Park better. This is Mayor Pro Tem Jamel McKenzie. It's been a phenomenal 2 weeks, and I'm just excited about everything that we have been doing. I want to share with you my August 18th report, starting by thanking Ms. Holly Rodriguez for all of your work that you're doing for our seniors and in our community. I spent the very first day of school at College Park Elementary, and it was awesome just meeting new students and parents and seeing our students getting enrolled in their houses. I even got put in the House of Isabidi, so I'm excited about that. It was good to be with Dr. Otway and President's School Board member Kim Dove, and we're just looking forward to a great school year. On August 7th, we started our project with Trees Atlanta, where we are having the invasive species removal, specifically of kudzu, on the Brady Trail. It was a great day, and we will be continuing this project for the next couple of years. Shout out to our neighbors over at Herschel Road who really have led the way for us getting this project off the ground. Stay tuned because our next project with Trees Atlanta will involve planting trees along Main Street in downtown College Park. Also on August 7th, I represented the city at the ATL District's annual meeting held at the GICC. It was great to be out with so many business owners and that are in Union City, Hateville, and the city of College Park, and just to hear the accomplishments of the ATL District over the past year. Last Thursday, we had tons of fun at the CPMSA Wine Stroll. It was great to visit and shout out businesses along our downtown Main Street, Virginia Avenue corridor, and we had the golf carts out again. It was fantastic. Last Friday, I represented the city at the Council for Quality Growth and the ARC's 5th annual Intersection to Quality Development Conference. It was a great opportunity, lots of information that was shared by businesses, corporations, elected officials. It was great to share with some of my classmates. And after that, Olivia and I took a tour of the grounds of the Sandy Springs City Center. It was a wonderful just to see all that they are doing in Sandy Springs. And of course, we pulled out our notebooks and took some notes and thought about and talked about some of the things that we would like to see happen here in College Park. So keep watching us as we're building College Park better. And now for Ward 1 updates and announcements. We will be paving Rugby Terrace August 18th through 20th, so pardon us as we make progress in building our city better. In addition, we are continuing to do repairs to our signage on the City Hall lawn, which has been in need of TLC. And many of you are aware that at the Brady Center, we replaced the chiller, and now we have to do some upgrades to address some of the things that need to be done to beautify the Brady Center as a result of replacing the chiller. So bear with us, we are on the way. And as we continue to provide leadership programs for our College Park youth, I'm happy to announce that we will be launching our Youth Civic Advisory Board in the next few weeks. We had an amazing amount of young people come.
Do you want to just finish it? Tell us what the rest of it was?
I'm going to let her play the rest of it once it finishes rebooting, so maybe we'll just come back to it.
Councilmember Carr?
All right. Well, a couple of things. First, I would definitely want to send my condolences to Lance Terry and his family on the passing of Lance's mother, Mrs. White. I did attend that service today. Losing someone's mother has got to be probably the toughest challenge that anybody goes through in their life, I would imagine. My heart really went out to his family, and Lance was a really good guy. Pamela Massey, who I've seen coming and going every now and then, condolences to her family as well. We had a great national night out. Chief, I don't think you're here, but it was really spectacular. And we were going forward with it. There were clouds and on the horizon, but we pushed through it. And, my daughter used to worry about rain sometimes when she was a little girl. I'd go out and I'd be heading out to work, and she'd say, "Daddy, you going out? It's all that rain out there." And I would tell her, I say, Mimi, if all it took was a little rain to stop your dad, we'd be in trouble. So hats off to the police department, fire, public works for putting on a spectacular national night out. This year, it was my attempt, and still is, to make education a citywide priority. Our Fulton County and Clayton County schools had a very, very successful opening of the 25-26 school year. College Park was a big part of that success, and this staff was a big part of this success. We put together a great campaign that involved pretty much half of our departments, and I just want to thank the city manager for leading the charge and understanding what it is we were trying to do. I've never been so proud of us. Clayton County schools and Fulton County schools were asking their other cities when were their governments going to step up and be innovative with schools like College Park. And that's the kind of talk we want to hear more of, just leading and innovating. So we're looking forward to more things like that, and we're going to move forward with more things like that. One of the things I heard today was about a whistleblower hotline, and I most certainly do support something along those lines. A city attorney, I understand that employees, if there is a serious concern, they can address it anonymously in one way or another, and I think all of our employees are entitled to the legal whistleblower status. Is that right? And can you just kind of, I want employees to understand that there are some safeguards in place in terms of issues like that, and a lot of people may not know what that is, but could you give a 45-second just so that we got a lot of new employees so that they do know and they are aware?
Yes, sir. There are two ways to think about it. First way to think about it is organizationally what you want to do to create a culture where employees feel safe in reporting issues. without fear of retaliation. And you don't need a state statute or a federal statute in order to do that. That's just something that you can do from a policy perspective to create that safe environment for employees to report concerns. However, there is a state statute, a whistleblower statute that provides protection to employees, and it has a federal counterpart. And so if an employee reports a concern to OSHA or EPA or to some other state or federal agency or law enforcement agency based on some perceived violation, and we retaliate by taking adverse employment action against the employee, we're subject to suit. And so we expose ourselves to liability. So I think that it's best practice to create an environment where employees feel empowered to report violations. That's how we get better as an organization. But even if we didn't share that perspective, both the state of Georgia and the federal government have laws that create those protections already.
I wanted to just clarify that, and we've got some great employees in this city. We got some hard-working folks and some folks that are so dedicated. None of this would be able to happen without city employees. I want to thank each and every one of you all. No city employee is perfect. No elected body is perfect. No city attorney is perfect. But we are all collectively doing the best that we can, and compared to a lot of cities, and I know you represent a lot of them, we do pretty well, all in all. A few months back, I made a pledge to be civil, as well as a pledge to produce results and serve our residents with as much respect and responsiveness and results as I could muster. And I continue to work towards that goal. When I get a request from a resident, I am obligated to respond, because that's part of why we are up here. And I'd like to personally let all of our residents know that all of us in our own way do our best to respond and take action based on the requests that we get. Last thing I'll say is, when I was 8 or 9 years old, I remember my mother used to have us make sandwiches in the kitchen, and some years we made 50, 70, 80, 100 sandwiches. And we would go down, there were a couple of areas downtown under some bridges, and how many of y'all remember the Gulch? Not the new Gulch, the old Gulch. We would go to some places, and it would be wintertime, and we would hand out sandwiches. And one of the things that kind of struck me, because I was, like I said, I was a little bitty boy, and it would scare the daylights out of me of how many folks were hungry. And I thought we were going to get swamped going out there. There were so many people coming from everywhere, and I just said to myself, where are all these people coming from? Where are they, why are they out here? And, you grow into stuff, and you always say, well, I would love to get an opportunity to do something to try to mitigate some of those things. One big part of us being elected officials is to make an attempt to make residents' lives just a little bit better. We're not going to fix every solution and fix every problem in everybody's lives, but we got to lead. I'm just a regular God-fearing guy. I'm far from perfect, believe me. But I thank y'all for working together more. I think we are working together more. I think we're working towards more progress together. We do have bumps in the road here and there, but I want us to continue to try to be civil, respectful. Even if we do not agree, we have to make sure that we understand the other side of someone's disagreement or argument. Again, how we present ourselves to this community, to this state, to this region is important. And we want to be cognizant of that every time we make a motion and with everything that we try to do. So let's just continue to keep that in mind. So that's all I got.
I think we can go back to the presentation.
Okay. Apologies to everyone for the disruption in the video.
Amount of young. Thus, we are on the way. And as we continue to provide leadership programs for our College Park youth, I'm happy to announce that we will be launching our Youth Civic Advisory Board in the next few weeks. We had an amazing amount of young people come out to apply for this new Civic Leadership Board, and we're looking forward to it. Our Ward 1 community meeting will be held on August 23rd at the Public Safety Building at 10 a.m. in the morning. This is a perfect time for you to come out and get updates from me and for me to hear from you. This has been Mayor Pro Tem Jamel McKenzie, and we are building College Park better every day.
Yeah, I also wanted to include a warm welcome to Gerald Walker, who's back with us. It's so good to have you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Councilmember Arnold?
Awesome, thank you. All right, so over the past couple of weeks, I have been extremely busy. Starting with National Night Out. You know, before I get to our celebrations, I too want to make sure that I share my condolences with both the Massey and the Terry families for their letting them know that we are keeping them uplifted in prayer. And now I want to move on to the updates that I have, starting with National Night Out. It was an amazing day. It was raining earlier that day, and so I didn't think that we were going to have it either, but we did. And it's always a good day when we can get out with the police department and celebrate and also be given money. So kudos to the chief and the department for that. I too participated in the American Council of Engineering Companies. Had the opportunity to talk to a couple of different organizations, talking about some different services that we may be interested in considering, especially for our TOD. And so I'm looking forward to having some additional conversations with those couple of companies. I want to congratulate all college students who started school today. Today was a very interesting day for most families. Some families taking their students to college for the first time. We had a lot of movement from high school to college throughout the state of Georgia, and then some parents saying their bittersweet goodbyes. I personally was glad to see mine go because then that means that my grocery bill goes down a little bit this summer. I had the opportunity to have an appreciation day this weekend with those individuals who volunteered and participated with the Juneteenth parade and celebration on Godby Road. That was very interesting. We had a great day, cookout, food trucks, and I want to thank the city manager and the staff members that helped put that on, and also the volunteers for that. I also stopped by the health fair on Saturday, which was a great event as well. And I don't know if anyone else took advantage of any of the screenings, but I did. And I actually had a screening that I'd never heard of before. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with peripheral artery disease. I actually thought that it was a massage, so I was on my way out the door, and I was like, oh, they're giving away massages. I'm going to get one. And as I started getting closer, I was like, that doesn't look like a massage at all. But I had the screening. Where they connect you to these things on your arms and on your ankles to determine whether or not if your blood is flowing appropriately through your veins in your body. And while there, although my screening came out as normal, there were a couple of people who received screenings that were abnormal. And so they had the opportunity to take advantage of speaking to doctors and doing follow-up appointments. So I thought it was a good thing that, we offered that in the community, and I'm looking forward to being able to do or offer more services like that, especially free screenings that typically cost people money. If you're like me, you never heard of a PAD, you've never had one, it doesn't come with your annual physical. But it's very important to understand whether or not if you have that disease. If you do, you may end up having to have limbs and joints and things of that nature, fingers and toes amputated because your blood is not flowing properly. And so anytime that we're able to provide or extend services to the community for individuals who may not be able to afford these services, I think it's always a great thing. See, what else do I have on my list here? Oh, I wanted to, I also had a conversation with the residents at Princeton Village, Princeton Courts. The police department joined me, fire department, and code enforcement, where we sat down and we talked with the residents in the Princeton Village area about parking. It was more about public safety. We have very narrow streets. I think I've shared that before on this dais and also in a couple of VITA meetings of the streets being narrow. The emergency vehicles are getting wider. They have gotten wider since the community was established. And we've had a couple of emergencies where the vehicles haven't been able to get through to those individuals needing services. And so the purpose of the conversation was to sit down and to talk about something comprehensive between the residents that live in the subdivision, the residents that live in the senior community, and how we could come together to come up with something comprehensive with the city to be able to enforce parking or restricted parking to make sure that no one is ever sitting waiting on an emergency vehicle and the vehicle doesn't make it to them and their life is at risk. And so we received various volunteers between the subdivision and the senior community who asked that we create a task force, which is a next step for the city and the community to come up with something comprehensive about parking, whether that is parking the restricted lines in the subdivision or having parking passes. But at the end of the day, it was a great conversation, and I want to thank you, Ms. Miller, for allowing your staff to participate in that conversation. And the community is expecting for us to come up with, or to work with them to come up with something that will work for everyone. Those are my updates. Thank you.
Councilman Burgay?
I also want to welcome Gerald back, and I want to also talk a little bit about the community enhancements. There may be some questions from the public about how he spent, but having worked up here since 2015, without those community enhancements, these projects may not have ever happened. And so, like it or not, these projects would have never happened, from my perspective. So maybe we can get a little bit more transparent, but there are not a lot of cities where elected officials can control the expectations in their community. I also want to say, not to take up for anybody, but I think it's kind of cowardly to read for employees when employees can read for themselves. I think we have a good team, and I'm excited, and I'm hearing that people are excited that our city is going in the right direction. So you may play the tape that I prepared.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Hello, Ward 4 family. This is your council member, Roderick D. Gay, bringing you the latest council report, sharing our progress, community highlights, and what's ahead for our great ward. Let's start with Phillips Park. We're in our final stage of completing our brand new playground. The fresh sod is down, the state-of-art water fountains are installed, and we know families, and especially our kids, are eager to enjoy this exciting new play space. We're just about ready, and the official ribbon cutting will take place during the 9th annual citywide festival on Saturday, October the 11th. While we're talking about Phillips Park, our basketball court, already one of the premier sports amenity in the city, just got even better. Recently, aggressive play caused some damage to the fence during a game. We immediately addressed the safety concerns and expanded the fencing by 10 feet. This improvement will give our athletes more room to play and even a better experience on the court. Moving through the ward, our streetscapes are nearly complete, with just a few quarters remaining. The enhancement at Camp Creek Parkway and Herschel Road and Green Springs Road at Roosevelt Highway are finished, and they look incredible. Yes, the summer heat has made watering a challenge, but the result speaks for themselves. These streetscapes are proof that beautification and landscape don't just improve appearances, they can raise property values and bring new life to our community. And now, it's festival time. After an amazing Kid Fest and a national night out that set the bar very high, Ward 4 is next to shine. The 9th annual citywide festival is more than just an event. It's a celebration of our community spirit. This year, we're adding something special, a homecoming reunion. We'll be honoring the legendary R&B group Brick, who formed right here on Main Street 59 years ago and are still going strong. They'll receive a special proclamation and treat us to a 45-minute performance of their greatest hits. We've also added a second stage this year featuring the best in Southern soul music, plus rodeo action and a trail ride. And don't miss our special guest, Miss Shirley, the internet line dancing sensation at age 4, along with a performance by Young Dro, assuring fun for all ages. Join us October the 11th at Phillips Park from 12 to 5. And yes, it's free to the public. Another exciting project on the horizon is Paws on Main, our premier dog park. Construction is expected to begin in September after successful securing our budget. This will be a welcoming space for our K-9 family members to run, play, and socialize while the owners enjoy Wi-Fi, meet new friends, or host small gatherings. We also partner with local businesses like Lifeline Animal Project to bring free spade and neuter services, vaccinations, and pop-up clinics right in the park. It's been an incredible few weeks, and the results of our hard work are all showing all over Ward 4. I'm excited for you to enjoy the new amenities, the upcoming festival, and everything else we've been doing together. Finally, I want to remind everyone that qualifying for Ward 2 and Ward 4 begins next week. We want all our communities to go out and vote for their next council member. This has been your Ward 4 report. I'm Councilman Roger Gay. Thank you, God bless, and I'll see you around the ward.
Is there a motion to enter into an executive session for discussion of real estate?
So moved.
I'd like
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to enter in for litigation as well.
All right. So, Councilmember Carn, are you willing to amend for real estate and litigation?
Yes.
All right. So, Councilmember Arnold, your second still stands?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention?
Aye. I'm in agreement.
Okay. All right. So it is unanimous. We will enter into executive session for discussion of real estate and litigation.